Hey everyone, back to drink tea today. It's autumn, kind of heading into winter, so I thought it'd be good to drink some ripe Pu-erh. And I wanted to drink and introduce the Tang series, which a lot of people I think are not as familiar with, especially if you're kind of a newcomer to Yunnan sourcing. Tang kind of means like fill the room with red. Although this isn't a black tea, this is a ripe Pu-erh. This is a 2011 Pu-erh that was produced from, and this is Tang our house, so this is the number 2 Tang. And that refers to, 2 refers to the average grade of leaves, so it's a blend of grade 1 and grade 3 leaves. And actually both of the teas, both grade 1 and grade 3 tea leaves are from a 2007 wet pile batch done in Linsang. So this tea is actually just now 10 years old. Although it was pressed in 2011, it's from 2007 tea. There's also Tang 2011 from Yunnan sourcing, which is Gongting, and that's from, I believe, a 2009 batch. And there's also a 2012 Tang Teji, and that's Teji grade. I forget the exact year on that one. I think that's also a couple of years old when we pressed it. And then in 2014, we also pressed a Tang Sanhao, which is a grade 3 leaf. And that was from, I think, 2013 batch. So that's the newest one. But anyways, yeah, let's get started here. So yeah, 10 years old tea that we're drinking here. You know, it's fairly common that a lot of the, like a lot of tea factories, not just Monghai Tea Factory, but they're kind of the classic example of pressing tea that has been aged already. Typically, I think Dai productions are anywhere from, the ripe tea in them is anywhere from 1 to 3 years old. So that definitely gives them a little bit of advantage. When this tea came out, it was pressed and it was already just didn't have any real wet pile taste at all. But now it really has an aged taste. And this has been dry stored in Kunming. This particular cake has been dry stored in Oregon and Texas for the last few years at least. So, but yeah, we're just gonna go through some of the older teas that we've made and start reviewing more of those, just to give people a little bit of insight, and also for me to check in with teas and see how they're aging. Before we know it, we're going to be up on the 10-year anniversary of the Yunnan sourcing brand of Pu-erh teas. I first started producing tea in 2009. This tea is really, it's really got a camphor woody type, almost a spicy aroma. It's very, very cleanly stored tea, very crisp. That's to my memory. We're going to drink it today again, but just the aromas were really, and that's why I called it Tang, or filling the room with red, or the idea that when you drink this tea, it just fills the room with its aroma. Yeah, so we first started producing tea in 2009, so 2018 is almost here. So it'll be 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018 will actually be our 10th year of producing tea. Although I don't know if we'll wait until 2019 to declare our 10-year anniversary or not, but it's kind of hard to believe that I've been making these teas for that long, and sourcing's been around since 2014, or 2004. How time flies. This has also got a really nice, super clear. This isn't a real dark, soy sauce kind of tea. Part of it's age, but part of it is just how the tea, just the tea itself, has never been a real, super dark, kind of soy sauce kind of, you know. Sweet, camphor, and wood. There's a little bit of what they call like a jianxiang taste to it as well. This is still, I've not opened it up yet. I'm brewing it in silver today. I like silver really for older teas too, because especially with these older teas and ones that are fairly tightly compressed, like this one. It's not super tightly compressed, but it's you know, it's not a stone press like a raw tea. The extra, you know, heat that the silver gets into the tea really helps, you know, open up and especially awaken like those kind of older, you know, leaves that have been dormant for so many years. And the aroma is just really, really special on this tea. It's thick, it's sweet, and there's almost like a, I don't know, kind of almost like a rum raisiny kind of like dried fruit type aroma with it too. I don't know if you've ever had like glug, but for some reason the aroma reminds me of like a little bit of glug, but less syrupy and sweet. Glug is like a Norwegian wine that people make, the warm wine. They add a bunch of herbs to it. I think they add sugar too. But again, really clear, bright, burgundy tea soup on this one. Let's see here. Still not opened up. There's big chunks moving around in there still, so this tea, I can already tell it's going to be super, super infusible. And I forget how much we're selling it for. I think it's just around $40 something a cake for 357 grams. So not bad for a 10-year-old Pu-erh. And I think a lot of people, it's kind of flying under the radar because it's not, you know, it's 2011 here is the year of the pressing, and it's not it doesn't, you know, people don't think of 2011 as being old, but when it's from 2017, makes it, you know, 10 years old. It's got a real crisp, you know, it comes, the sweetness fades really fast, and then there's this kind of, it's like a, kind of reminds me of like a dry kind of wine where, you know, it hits the mouth, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and then there's like this dry crispness. Although this tea has a real, you know, it really does hang out. It's got the liugan, they say. Yeah, there's not much going on in here. Let's go. You notice the high pour produces a lot of bubbles. Cools the tea down, gets some air into it again. I think people do that with wine as well, to get the, you know, to aerate it and get it, you know, nice and kind of like the right texture for the mouth. This in its young age was a very strong tea, and you can still taste that. It's still got, I think it's still got a little bit of bitterness there. There's like a chocolate, like a dark chocolate, a little bit of bitterness, crispness to it, not Christmas. I'm gonna put this in, and then this is a tea that I would say definitely needs, I'll be right back. This is a tea that definitely needs a lot of heat to open it up and awaken it. But when you do that, you'll be rewarded with a really pungent, thick tea, stays in the mouth for a long time. Sweet, there's a lot of nuances of kind of dried fruit. There's a little bit of dark chocolate bitterness going on here. I'm going to brew it again 1 or 2 more times, and I think having the hot water be, or the water be as hot as possible is definitely good for this tea. But it's definitely a very mellow a very mellow tea compared to what it was. I don't know, there probably are a few people here who watched this video who drank this tea maybe in 2011 when it didn't really have much wet pile taste, but at that time it definitely had it still had quite a bit of strength to it, and it still does now as well. Interesting tea. It would be interesting to try a wet stored version of this tea or a Guangdong stored version of this tea to see how different it would be, and it would be quite different. I still think I would prefer this one. It would be interesting as a counterpoint, the kind of more like, viscous, less pungent, less crisp, a little more sweet version that traditional storage would offer this tea. So, but alas, we only have one choice available to us, which is dry storage in this case. I do know a few people that in Kunming that do send some of their teas, especially ripe teas. They like to send them to Guangdong or even Sichuanbana for a few years, especially right after production, so that they can kind of knock out that wet pile taste. Next up, we're going to drink the Mantanghong Gongting, but I think that's going to be a separate video. I've always wondered if it would be a good or a bad idea to do like a marathon tea drinking video that's just like an hour. I just don't know if I would be able to talk that long. I probably could, but it wouldn't be interesting. And the reason that these are all 4 of the Mantanghong that we created are called Mantanghong is because they're all from one fermentation master, and they're all from one tea factory. And even though there's different vintages, I think there's material that we used 2007, this one, 2009, the Mantanghong Gongting, I believe 2009, the Tuejiu, all which I also think is 2009 tea. But that one's pressed in 2012, and then the 2014. They all have a very similar style, and you could give this tea to me just totally out of the blue, blind, and I would immediately know it was Mantanghong, and I would immediately know that it was from that particular tea factory because of the profile. It's very distinctive, and I think that if you drink this tea, whether you love it or not, I think that you'll find that it's totally unique, and that you won't drink another ripe tea that has a similar profile to this one. Similar, yes, but not very similar. So, incidentally, this was also the first tea factory that I visited. I think it was in 2006 actually that I visited, and they actually shared their whole wet piling process with me and showed me everything. At that time, people were a little bit cagey about kind of not wanting to share that stuff, especially with foreigners. There was this perception that, people would think that wet piling was, perhaps, not sanitary or disgusting or something because it was composting tea. But in fact, the tea factory was very clean, and it was just a big pile of tea, and they kept it wet, and you could feel the heat coming from the stack. And I remember that the boss they had just finished a batch of tea and they hadn't separated it into different grades yet, and he gave me a big bag of that tea, and I still have that tea. It was completely unsorted. It was all these different grades all together, and I took that tea and I have it. I think I put it in a Tang, like a bamboo, like a woven, like a handmade kind of container made from bamboo. And I still have it somewhere. Just really nice, stable, crisp. We haven't really lost. We really haven't lost anything here in terms of flavor with this most recent steeping. It helps that I reboiled the water and got that heat up again. The other thing that you can do now that we're heading into winter is you can take things, you can also, if you want to waste some of your water, you can do things like this. You can pour the hot water over the teapot every once in a while, and that should help keep it heated. The other thing that people do in the winter, especially we did it in Kunming because there's no heating there, we'd sit in tea shops with the, there's 3 walls, and then there's a metal shutter door that they open in the morning. So it gets quite cold there in the winter. We drink tea, and we put a bowl, like a little bowl. You could actually just use like a gaiwan dish or something else, or a little bowl, and you could put your tea in it, and then just pour the hot water into it and let the water sit as high as possible right there, and then just keep that water really hot, and that'll help keep the temperature up. So if you find yourself brewing outside and you have plenty of boiling hot water, you don't mind wasting a little water, you can do that. Take a little bowl with you and keep your teapot semi-immersed. I think that's about it. We could keep going with this one. This is a tea that I do recommend. It's not for everybody, but I think it's really clean, it's aged, it's still pretty affordable, just in the $40-something range. And you can get a sample of it, so I would definitely check it out. We're going to be doing the rest of the Mantang Hong series soon, so we'll talk a little bit about those. I may not do all of them, but I'll do at least one more of them. I think that if you get a sample and you try it, it's definitely worth trying. You may also find that it's something that you really enjoy too. I really enjoy it. I like it, but I realize that might not be for everybody. So anyways, enjoy, and see you next time.